Welcome to a live episode of the Download with Joe, recorded here at NexusCon 2025. I'm Ben Milwaukee, co-founder of Element 6, and we're joined as always by our co-host Joe Amador. Today we're sitting down with Drew DePriest, Director of Real Estate Operations Technology at McKesson, for a smart building reality check. How AI is really showing up in FM and what's changing across real estate ops. Let's get into it. So, Drew, why don't you start off? For the people that don't know you, a little introduction to you and what you're doing.
Sure, Ben, appreciate it. My name's Drew DePriest. I lead a technology team at a company called McKesson. We're just a giant healthcare logistics company. So pharmaceuticals, medical, surgical supplies, cancer treatment facilities, huge mix of industrial space, medical outpatient space, a little bit of corporate office. So we get to see some interesting facilities tech as part of that mix.
Yeah.
I've got a team of 4 plus a handful of some vendor support in there as well. I've been doing this for 2 decades now, which it goes by so fast.
Right.
Yeah. Building automation space, came up in the controls world, had known Joe in that world for quite a while as well.
We met when you were working at Comfy. I was at Lucid. I think that was probably and both just the 2 Oakland startups focused on smart buildings.
Right. Neither of us lived in Oakland at the time.
Right.
So it's kind of like this kindred spirit of learning how to travel to the West Coast once a quarter. So big companies, small companies, I can't get enough, apparently.
Yeah. And I mean, McKesson, the other thing, it's not necessarily a household name, but you're, I think, number 8 or 9 on the Fortune 500.
Fortune 9, last I checked.
Yeah.
I took one of my kids to see the doctor a couple weeks ago for strep.
Yeah.
And it's just looking in the exam room. It was like that scene in Spaceballs with the gift shop. It was like McKesson the gloves and McKesson the alcohol swabs and McKesson the throat sticks. And it's just everything that you take for granted being a part of medical treatment.
Yeah.
McKesson ensures it gets from a manufacturer to that exam room.
Yeah. Hence the warehouse space, the logistics space. And well, it's great to have you. I was going to say first, sorry for the weather. We're here in Denver, and we talk about 300 days of sunlight. Honestly, I think it's more than that, but I'll leave the meteorologist. But just not today, right?
And we found the one.
Yeah, it's supposed to. Yeah, you got at least 30 or 40 in there. But so I think there's a few things that we wanted to talk about. You did a podcast, I think, with Ed. Was it IFMA? One of the IFMA podcast, and that was just excellent. And you started talking a little bit about how you're using AI within your organization, and when I approached you about coming on our podcast, what was interesting to me is you hear a lot of vendors talk about we have an AI-powered solution. But when I was at Realcomm, and I think this was right after Realcomm, they were noting a lot of the use cases I was hearing was, well, if I do this in a spreadsheet, I'm just going to find a way to not have to manually use the spreadsheet, right? It's a much more organic, like I spent 8 hours doing this, can I spend 2 hours? I think both are realistic. I'm not saying it's one or the other, like you buy an AI solution, you use, but I just love to hear kind of where you're at in terms of using McKesson or at McKesson using AI, because that podcast, you just went through a few interesting examples, and I thought you just a very thoughtful way of not just throw things at the wall. It was a little bit more of like, we want to try and experiment, but it's rationalized in some way.
Trying to. I think so rationalize is the right way to put it. And what you've talked about of kind of the little everyday things plus the big things. I've had that conversation with senior IT leaders within the company, and everyone, now that we've been at this for probably 6 months, everyone tends to agree that this big radical shift in how the company operates can't just be on the backs of, we picked 4 big bets and threw all this money at 4 big bets and assumed that it would all work. There will be some big bets, that companies like McKesson and others are investing quite heavily in.
Yeah.
But just as important are these little, I've used the phrase, I borrowed it from Google, if the big bet is a moonshot, there's all these little smaller roof shots. Yeah. And how do you get this tiny little incremental change that, to your point, saves you? It used to take me 8 hours, now it takes me 2.
Yeah.
To get that ingrained in a culture, and that goes beyond real estate and facilities.
Yeah.
That's everywhere. I mean, it's just the constant efficiency of, I see people now using, we're a Microsoft house, so we're Copilot.
Yeah.
Turning on Copilot to record a Teams meeting. And then you can ask it questions about what was said later. Like, it's just, seemingly everyday kind of things have just overtaken. And that's what leadership wants. That's why I hear from real estate, from finance, and they hear it all the way up from the C-level is like, this is a radical shift in how we do work.
Yeah.
It's not just a flashy, fad.
Right.
That I think we all kind of,
Yeah.
some of us were talking about. I know I was a year ago, 2 years ago, like,
Yeah.
everybody says AI now.
Yeah.
It's become more of an everyday, and we all use it at home too, right? Like I'm using it to help recommend movies that my kids would like.
Yeah.
So it's all the above, really. I mean, we trade prompts within my team. Like,
Yeah.
what are you using that works? What's consistent? That's been the hardest part, is the consistency.
And when you say trading prompts, are you thinking like ways to structure a prompt to get it, or it's like I have like two people on your team have the same issue coordinated, how do you get to the answer? Or is it just, well, when I structure my prompt, that kind of thing, is it like directly like this is what I wrote, or is it kind of a step up of like this is how I structure my prompts?
A little bit of both.
Or a little bit of both. Okay.
The big example, I'm thinking of someone elsewhere in the real estate organization who needs help with reviewing legal documents. So not quite a lease, but something else that goes into a project that they're executing.
Yeah.
And she's gotten to a science, I think it's 2 sentences, maybe 3, with the same templated file.
Yeah.
To just say, here's this PDF, here are the 10 things in particular I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Put them in a table so I can copy and paste into Excel. And that has, like your example of 8 to 2, that's exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
It used to take 8 hours to just read this 50-page thing.
Yeah.
And now it's...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've noticed even sometimes when I'm trying to figure out, somebody mentions something at an event like here at NexusCon, oh, did you hear about this company? And it's like a publicly traded company. And it's like, okay, go get the past 8 transcripts from their quarterly calls. And like, you can search each one of them, or you can put them all into a notebook and say, I just want to query like what's going on. You do find that I almost find there are things that I would have just never have done. Like, I don't have the time to do that. It's like, now you're like, actually, but
this is going to take me 4 minutes.
Yeah.
This is straightforward.
In terms of how I wanted one other quick follow-up, when you noted, it sounds like, but maybe confirm, you have corporate IT that they're just like, we want to deploy AI across the organization, maybe coming from leadership. And then you are obviously subject matter expert focused on real estate, workplace, and you partner up and work with them, but also take your own initiative to kind of get AI embedded into certain operations. Is that so the way?
Corporately, the broader enterprise IT organization went out, and before they made it available to anybody, evaluated AI tools and put in governance and put in review boards and those kinds of things, and then came to the rest of the company and said, here's where we're going.
Right. Here's our menu of tools.
Here's what you can use.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
To be able to say, like, hey, we've vetted these things.
Yeah.
We've accepted whatever risk there is. It's been through legal and all these other things. Have at it. Go do your thing. Some of the different parts of the business are running their own kind of tailor-made initiatives.
Okay.
But then, what you're saying, what we're hearing is find ways to do things better, to be more efficient, to, just find cost savings where we can.
Right.
So we're doing little things like prompt engineering. We're doing big things of trying to build agents to be able to parse out just the piles of data that tend to live within real estate.
Yeah.
At least in my experience, kind of blur between, there's a lot of structured data. So portfolio, lease administration, those kinds of things. The stuff we're all used to.
Yeah.
Like what we're going to hear about here, right?
Yeah.
I have tables and ontologies and relational graphs and use MPC to connect my agent to go ask questions of that. What we've also come to realize, and it feels more obvious in hindsight, there's a ton of knowledge that just lives in decks and emails and documents.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is find a way for one agent to be able to grab both, because that seems to be the entirety of real knowledge within the org. It's really bloody hard.
I know.
It is so hard.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you both probably have the same situation where you have been working on something, maybe it was a month ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago. You can't actually remember, when did I do that or where did I put that? It's like a slide in a deck. Do you think that was such a good encapsulation of what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to explain? You know it exists. It's like, how do I find it? And when you just look in, I mean, I'm a Google shop, right? So I'm like looking at Google Drive, it's really hard to find things sometimes. It's like really frustrating.
Yeah.
Where is that? And you just give up after a while if you can't find it.
Yeah.
So,
It's if we can get to, I've got 2 people on my team now who have leaned so deeply into trying to build an agent internally.
Yeah.
They're learning a ton on, we are having to give context to this thing, this nebulous. We were so naive and childlike. We thought, oh, we'll just stand up a Copilot agent, just point it to that folder in SharePoint and that table over there and that table. And we just stood back like, cool, now ask it questions and see what it does.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we're kind of all learning together, which was what makes it exciting.
How far away do you think you are?
Oh man, 3 months ago I thought I was 2 months away, and hopefully a couple more months. Like we've had a couple minor breakthroughs in terms of.
So would it be iterative? So like the agent being able to read an ontology report before a certain type of table, or be able to read a full copy text report? Like, are you taking that approach, or are you just trying to get everything?
A little of both, trying to, so that what we've learned, there's an art and a science. Like at first we thought, just let the generative thing take over. We'll give it enough of a brain so it can interpret its own. The last probably 2 weeks, one of the analysts on my team who's really diving deep into this figured out through just YouTube and online courses and everything else, you have to put some science in how you kind of drive. If someone asks this kind of a question, send it down this path. Like just kind of nudge it. Like it's maybe 80% concrete. It's not, if Ben asks how many buildings are in the portfolio, you must answer exactly this. If someone contextually asks for quantify a portfolio, go to that table and look at these handful of columns and see what makes sense to you there.
Yeah.
Yes, it's that, at least to do it well, that's repeatable, consistent, and scalable.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what we ran into early is 5 of us could ask the agent the same question and get 5 different answers.
Yeah.
And we all just kind of like, we can't push this yet. This is not ready.
No.
Yeah.
I as you were talking, I was trying to think about, you've played with this and are still playing with this for a while. What are the kind of aha moments, or where you've been really pleased with the impact that either Copilot or anything else that you've built that's, had a rooftop win, as you describe it?
For me, the initial ahas, which I think parallel some of the more personal kind of residential use cases, is the unstructured piece.
Right.
To be able to put into, we had an initial use case. How do we help just general onboarding of new hires?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've all seen this at big companies. There may be a deck that's here's the intro to the organization, and that gets out of date relatively quickly, and links on the internet change all the time. So we thought, can we curate that a little bit, and just through a series of other artifacts that other people have built, just kind of stash everything together in a brain, just a folder on a drive, and then point an agentic AI at this thing. And it did a pretty decent job.
Nice.
Like you could go to initially a month ago and type in something like, today is my first day within real estate team. What do I need to know? And outside of, we tell it to be nice and welcoming, and you can, hi Ben, welcome to McKesson Real Estate. But then also give it some prompts and guidance around, tell them about the organization. Here are links on how to request access to software, and based on your role, these are pieces of technology you might need to know about.
Yep.
Things that initially, when our team kind of sat down and said, let's go try to figure this out, our initial brainstorm was going around the room, what are the 4 or 5 things that people tend to ask you for help with in a given week?
Yeah.
That's the repeatable.
That's the win.
That's where, let's take that out of our plates. Still, deeply support and service the people that need access to things or how to fix something when it's broken, but put all that tactical, repeatable stuff into an AI.
Yeah.
So we can go back to the more strategic, kind of longer term.
Yeah. And what about the opposites? I mean, you described the kind of initial deployment of an agent and not being able to do the things that you wanted straight off the bat. Have there been any other sort of opposite feelings where you thought, well, I thought that would work and it hasn't?
Very similar. So within the framework that we've been given, go in the opposite direction of pointing it to, we have one test table. That's a slice of portfolio information. Is it even beyond real estate? What I've seen here and in other companies, we have stakeholders out in the businesses that want to know, what are my lease terms at this location? And kind of structured, just general questions they may have out in the field. And we thought that we'd have some success, and we didn't quite go down the ontology path because we didn't, frankly, have the bandwidth, the deep expertise to do so, just within my team. So we started giving it, here's a glossary. Like, here's what, of the 10 columns in this table, like, here's what these 5 mean. Here's how that one relates to that one, because some of them are hierarchical. And for one of us who are deeply trained in real estate facilities, we could look at a portfolio table and just like, oh yeah, I get that. Like that, that's the leaseholder, and that's all the geographic metadata, and that's where they sit in the organization, and kind of basics. We had to teach, but even then, like, it kind of got lost at the same time.
Interesting. Do you feel like, I mean, there was a point you made earlier, but looking at, you're investing a lot of time now, you're doing a lot of learning, you're doing a lot of trial and error in kind of a structured way. Do you think that the goal, or is your goal maybe, or a hope that you get to a point where you can give an outcome? Like, I want this outcome, and like let the agent or let multiple agents go and take care of them. And that could be, we know we have this many employees, we know we have this much square footage. Can you reduce 10% of our square footage?
Spot on. Yeah.
And like that's the goal. I mean, I'm giving one example. I'm sure there's many others.
Especially the thought of multiple agents kind of chained or stacked into each other.
Yeah.
The thought now is, let's get one to answer a handful of kind of use cases.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, we did our last outcome research effort was probably 18 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they'll change all that much.
Yeah.
What you're saying of reduce dollars per square foot.
Right.
Tell me about construction projects where we may have some risk and how this being mitigated.
Right.
Things that each different kind of wing of the traditional real estate team, what are they trying to optimize for?
Yeah.
That's where we want to kind of get to. And then just peel them off one at a time. And then, as you're saying, if we can combine, like, take a work order agent and a lease agent and a construction agent.
Right.
Kind of tell me, we have lease events coming in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
This facility seems to have a lot more trouble with its assets than this one does.
Right.
What's the better option?
And getting to kind of like underlying, there's data from multiple places. There might be a story of one thing is causing another thing or impacting something else that might not be that apparent, right? Like work orders versus leases. You could very simply just say which buildings have the most number of work orders and are the leases up in a year. There might be much more to it than that.
Yeah.
Right. Or, it has a lot of work orders, but they're renovating it in a year. So maybe we want to stay in that space. Or, I mean, that's probably a simple one, but it could get much more complicated.
But it's the overall goal.
Yeah.
And then you can interact with it. It goes beyond a dashboard, which is static and how it's structured. Right. And, even the best visual designer in terms of data.
Yeah.
They're going to give you, like, here's 5 tabs to a dashboard. And each one maybe has 6 or 7 widgets. And based on things we've agreed to measure. But every single time someone looks at even one of the best laid out dashboards, I've got 5 questions in my head.
I know. Yeah.
And I can't just type that.
Right. I've seen some examples from firms that have an AI powered solution and they say you can on demand create a dashboard. And I thought on one hand, that's interesting, right? Like I want to speak to you or write down, these are the things I want to see and create a dashboard. So on one hand, I know from my time, especially at JCI, maybe less at Lucid, you would have clients that like, I want my dashboard to look exactly like this. And you'd bring them something like, but the legend's in the wrong place. As a product guy, I would think, does that, like, that's going to cause you to buy or not to buy? And in some cases it was a yes, like, I'm not buying unless you move the legend. He thought, oh, wow.
Okay.
But like sometimes that was because they always had exactly what they wanted. And so that individual's mind. So you have that side where having like on demand dashboards is interesting. But then the other side, maybe you don't need dashboards anymore. And I go back and forth. I'm not really sure that we're going to have a world where I just talk to something in my building an AI agent that replaces the need for a dashboard, but you could argue maybe you need it less. At the same time, giving a very customized, like on-demand dashboard is interesting. I don't know. Do you have me? I think it's both. Either or. You think it's both? Okay.
I think it's both.
Yeah. Okay.
I think there will be for some executive reporting, which I've been doing for a decade.
Yeah.
There are some executives in this world who they have a template. I want to know these 5 things. I want to know every week by 2 p.m. in my inbox.
Yeah.
And that's a dashboard.
Yeah.
If they have questions, they'll come back and they'll ask.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. That's good. That's a stakeholder. That's a use case.
Yeah.
There are others who some of the requests, like the ad hoc things that we may get coming from one of the business units, maybe, I can put together a dashboard for you, or I think you really just want like a static answer. Yeah. You want a number, or you want, a quick trend over time. That could be an agent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think there's a space where we're hoping to get to. I had this exact conversation with our data team a couple weeks ago. Is there a world where we can flow someone into an agent, and the agent could then recognize, oh, maybe you need something a little bit deeper. Have you tried one of these existing dashboards?
Yeah.
Send them there and would you like a custom dashboard?
Right. Right. Yeah.
And then clip it that way.
Yeah. The other interesting point is and I see this little kids in our household, right? An answer to a question often leads to another question.
Oh yeah.
Right? And you think of that means having a way to have a conversation, even if it's a dashboard, as you say, and then I have a question based on what I'm seeing. It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need both. A lot of people just have to process things visually.
Exactly. Yeah. People learn in different ways. People process information in different ways. Yeah. If we look at smart building specifically, are there within some of the work you've been doing within your team any examples you can provide of this is like a little bit of a smart building applied, AI applied type use case that you've had a lot of success with?
It's the low kind of back end kind of things that we've been working on. Like we haven't gotten to the full. I know we've been talking at places here and elsewhere in the past of the Holy Grail is every building system is integrated through some flavor of an ontology, and you can start getting predictive, and then there's right back and it optimizes itself. We're not there yet.
Right.
We've got a long way to go to get there. So I think more of what we've been seeing is kind of the tactical, even like a device inventory.
Yeah.
Like how can we, contextualize what's in a spreadsheet or a smart sheet and say what am I missing? What are the gaps? Where might we have risk based on vintage of a particular device?
Right.
We've used it for, oh my goodness. Processing error logs has been one of the most valuable things that I've seen personally.
Interesting.
Like we had a new site, and a month ago, its gateway would come online, would blow through its memory, and then 15 minutes later, it crashes, just dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like
over and over,
just repeatedly over. Like we've all seen this.
Yeah.
At some point in a career.
Yeah.
And 20 years ago, like I would call the manufacturer, and they'd say, "Well, send me the log file. We'll look at it." And it takes 2 weeks to somehow extract the log file and email it to somebody. And now it's I literally will verbatim copy paste 7 different logs into an AI.
Right.
And it may take it a minute or two because it has to process all these different things.
Right.
But it will point to you and say,
weeks.
Based on this error, and that error, and that error, here are 3 possible things that could be.
Yeah. Right. Right. I mean, I've seen this. I've seen things shared just online of, I took a photo of the nameplate of my fridge because I was trying to fix it. And it's and then I've seen people have told me I take pictures of, I remember a couple years ago, I read a blog where somebody was taking photos of air handlers of basement HVAC systems, and it was not even it couldn't tell you where the compressor was, right? It's where's the compressor? Right? I mean, the compressor would be probably out in but where's it's just asking what are the components here, and it was clearly not able to identify them. And now I've seen examples of it'll tell you everything about.
Oh yeah, you can drop it. I put screenshots.
Yeah. Yes.
From our VMS front end into an agent. And it'll tell you
Yeah. I mean, it can tell you who's the OEM, maybe even what vintage it is. I mean, it's just knows. It's just pretty. So the learning rate is, I don't know, accelerating, but it's definitely going fast.
It's getting faster. It's probably a yellow flag concern. How much, how accurate is that?
Yeah.
Because it's what I'm starting to see internally and amongst friend groups and everywhere else.
Yeah.
Is this concept of agentic AI to me is giving us a lot of occasionally false confidence that we know what we're talking about because I got it from ChatGPT.
Yep. I've seen this as well. Yeah. By personal stuff.
Yeah.
Business sometimes where you just know something is wrong and
Right.
yeah. They're very polite when they mess up.
They are.
The AIs, but yeah.
I don't know. I think we're still, some of us may always be in this grain of salt phase of, you know, I know that you don't have a lot of expertise in this area and you just sent me an email that had 5 paragraphs about very specific things.
Yep.
I don't know so much.
Is it 100% right? Is it 95% right? Yeah. Are there, on the flip side of that question, like on the smart building side, some like specific goals of we're hoping to get to this, or like use cases you think will be achievable in the coming years, coming months?
I do think the more time goes on, the more we get to a place where I'm still very high on ontologies and modeling and just getting to a world where you can take all these thousands of data points within the physical systems. I've always been a fan of how does that align to kind of the business side of, if it's a corporate space, you know, show me meetings that were booked that day and how often they ran, and is there a way to get into kind of product value, and like what is that doing for employee performance, however we choose to measure that somehow. You know, is there context that we as humans don't see that you can model the whole thing as a system of systems and I don't know, find some better way to operate. Especially as, you know, all the lighting retrofits in the world have been done. There's only so much you can suck out of a chiller plant. Like at some point, the machine's got to do something to optimize better than what we can do.
That makes sense. Yeah.
There's a lot to get through. I think it's part of why our industry tends to be accused of being slow to catch on to things.
Yeah.
It's just deeply complex.
Yeah. I mean, on that point, when you look at the fragmentation in our industry, there's actually fragmentation at almost every level across every stakeholder. Right?
Every single one.
The owners, no one owns. I mean, I think the federal government through GSA has like 4 billion square feet of commercial space, but there's 89 or something billion square feet. So they're, what's that, a little over 5 or 6%? Like that's number one. You know, that's not very consolidated, right? And there's obviously thousands, if not tens of thousands of organizations that own real estate. You look at service providers, you look at the vendor landscape. I wrote something in my newsletter recently that even the big OEMs for controls, let's say it's $100 billion market, like they're getting 5 or 6 billion, the big guys. So a couple percentage points, right? It's more fragmented than you would think, even there where we have these big industry incumbents that everyone's heard of. So I think that creates a lot of friction. Just across the board.
It's not an easy place to
innovate, to play,
do a lot, right?
Yeah.
Talking about friction, perhaps that's a segue to us talking through smart building startups. Is there promise? Is there too much of a plateau? Given your background, what do you think what's your current view on the pace of innovation? Do you think we're done, or do you think it's a slow creep and there's still more to come? From your purview.
Yeah, I hope we're not ever done. I hope that there's always consistently some area somewhere that someone continues to poke at. And this business is hard. It's difficult to crack. I think from my perspective, the other big reason behind that, beyond the fact that it's super fragmented, to your point, a lot of what we're doing as buyers, we're cost centers. Most of us roll up through finance, and our job is to, optimize the asset and spend less money than it normally would have in the first place. Whereas if you look at other areas of startups, if it's finance or healthcare, and they're selling into a sales team, like look at a Salesforce license, what that does to a sales team is to drive revenue, to create value. And we're on the other side of trying to push down on cost savings, which anecdotally, just my experience, seems to have less outrageous appetite for investment. Because I've got to be able to show a hard cost measured savings for an ROI.
Yeah.
as opposed to, buy this CRM software and your top line explodes by 500%. That is much easier to sell than it is I can save your energy by 20%. It's still super valuable, and I think we need to keep pushing it. It's a different. I almost wonder if we're not artificially capped somehow because of the side of the equation that we work on.
Here's an interesting point. I don't disagree. One of the things I've been hearing more and more recently, which relates to AI but in a different way, is that just energy is getting more expensive.
Oh yeah.
So when you look at a lot of the solutions across the board in smart buildings, if you look at case studies, how they talk about ROI, it's almost always energy savings. And I've talked to some peers of your individual in roles like yours that say, well, the finance team won't believe me if I say it's anything other than energy savings. It's like, I can't get the budget. And I've heard that view a few times. I'm sure there is much more nuance and it's probably different at different organizations, but so it's not that it's not just that the vendors can only tie their product to energy savings. It's that maybe that's all that's really compelling to the buyers. But that world could potentially change if we use the same amount of energy, it's 10% more expensive every single year for the next, 5, 6, 7,
right.
I mean, it might even be more than that. The push of, we really do need to do something about this could be stronger. Because I've heard when I was at, like you on the vendor side, we would sometimes sell and people would tell me things like, well, my energy budget's about the same every year. So I actually don't want to reduce it because then I have to keep reducing it, or I can't, I just don't want to make sure it's unpredictable, right? So almost like predictability was the key rather than reduction.
Right.
But now it's definitely not predictable.
Right.
It's just, it's going up. You kind of know how much it's going up, but you're not sure. Do you think that changes the equation you described?
I think it could.
It could, yeah.
Because the other thing that I've learned from either CFOs or senior VPs in finance, the one thing that they appreciate just as much, if not more, of sending costs down is predictability.
Yeah.
The ability to walk into a session with a CFO and say, I know for sure, within 95% confidence that this figure, this cost, is going to increase at 3% for the next 5 years. That is significantly more powerful than saying energy is going to go up. It could be 5%, it could be 10%.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They deal in confident predictability. They have to be able to.
Yeah.
Especially in a publicly traded environment.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
Everything is about a forecast for this quarter and this fiscal.
Right. And the little things can have a big impact on the bottom line, hence the predictability.
Yeah, especially the scale. Like what you're talking about with wherever energy and water, frankly, spend
That's true. Yeah.
continues to grow as the AI data center appetite continues to go and go. Like giving some degree of predictability there is
really important.
Compelling.
Yeah.
I've had a number of conversations with others in the space as well around kind of returning a corner on risk mitigation.
Yeah.
Like if there are things that we can, one of the things I feel like the industry is almost a bug, not a feature, is we tend to be proud that hardware can last for 30 years. Like I see it on LinkedIn once a week. We put in this chiller plant controller in 1997 and it's still running and it's great. Like that's a valuable thing. From an efficiency and a technology perspective, that's the opposite.
Yeah, it's true.
Of what we need.
Right.
So I don't know. It's predictability is I think is a strong one.
Do you? I mean, you are well known in the industry. You're probably talking to a lot of vendors. You're using all kinds of different solutions. You have a kind of a keen eye to like what I need, what's available. Are there cases in general where you get big or small vendor pitches you on something and you think that's interesting, but that is not you're mistaking your value prop, or you're talking about energy savings, but you should be talking about predictability, or does that happen much in your mind?
Yeah. Probably 20-25% of the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I like having those kinds of conversations. And I'll be very upfront. Like, look, my budget's locked for the next 2 years. This is not a thing that really meets any of our outcomes.
Right.
But let's talk. Like, I'm happy to give you feedback.
Yeah.
And there's been a few instances, probably in the last 12 months, where it's wild. Like, I can't remember who it was. I saw one software demo and then met with someone else 2 weeks ago or 2 weeks later. Like, you two should know each other. Like,
and did they not know each other? Or
they didn't before.
Okay, and then
it's like, I just like, this would be a really great for lack of a better term, a bolt-on to what you've already built, you should go like do this.
Yeah.
Because then that unlocks this other thing that I don't think either of you were looking at. Did you have them? Oh, into both. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's a bit of a challenge in our industry, and I honestly don't know if it's a challenge in all emerging, growing industries that are nascent, but it does seem like there's less partnering than there should be, and that's not to blame any individual group, but I think it's challenging, of course, but there are a lot of cases where we're 50% similar and then the other 50% are completely different.
Yeah.
You look at like not a great comp, but like VTS and Hightower. VTS, obviously a huge company now in real estate, kind of one of the darlings of PropTech. They very early merged with Hightower. And I remember reading I don't know these companies personally that well, but they wrote a blog about how we do the same thing. Instead of like killing each other, we thought, let's just team up and go take the market. And I think we haven't seen a lot of that in our industry where two companies recognize, and I've done the same thing. You know, do you know this other company? You should know each other. Sometimes it leads to conversations, but for one reason or another, it usually just doesn't lead to much.
Yeah.
That's more of an observation than a direct question, but it's you raise a really good point.
I think I've seen, so there's some who will go build an integration to a complementary offering.
Right.
Like a sensor company to I don't know, desk reservation platform.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like that's a package that a buyer would have to go source directly. And I've been on both sides of that coin. Either the one someone asked, like, do you integrate to this company? And as a salesperson, if the answer is no, we don't, it really should be, I'm going to pick up the phone and call them and find out how much that's going to cost to get into each other.
Yeah.
I think I've seen more of that in the last probably 6-7 years.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's just, the challenge is from a buyer's perspective, you have to have that exact combination of things in order for that to work.
Yeah.
Whereas this other example is more of, I could see, I could name 3 or 4 peers that may be interested in that product. This other thing would make it, 50% better. Like, just put it on top. I think the one prime example is almost like, you should just buy this one so you don't have to build this in your roadmap for the next 2 years. Like, it already does it.
Yeah.
Just stack it on top and away you go.
Well, I've looked at that same scenario, right? Like a lot of the research in the newsletter over the summer is just why don't these companies get bought or sell? And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot to unpack. I think individually, I did a video. I was like out on a hike one afternoon, just like thinking about the market. And I talked about the tragedy of the commons, where this concept very quickly where pollution is problematic because individuals don't necessarily, like, you can pollute a little bit and it doesn't really do anything to you. But if everyone has that mentality, the natural environment will be pretty dirty. And I think that individual startups in general, they view it as, well, I want to capture more market share. But what they may not realize is there's a lot of companies that have the exact same view as you. And that creates challenges for you as a buyer because you're trying to buy amongst dozens of companies where it would be more efficient, I would think, if it were 5 or 8 or even less.
It would be helpful. I think there's been a lot of whatever the product equivalent of scope creep.
Yeah.
Over the last 7-8 years, like you and I first started talking about the company, there were maybe 4 companies at the time that were doing kind of their own niche thing that included desk reservation. I don't know why like that is the one feature I feel like everyone can do now.
Right.
And I've had conversations at IFMA, I've had conversations at Cornet where someone will ask, who would you recommend for desk reservation? And it's like, here's a list of 50, you know?
Right. Sensor companies that say, well, we built the app because we want to touch the end user. To your point, other companies that make more of a facility management solution, IWMS solution. Yeah, I think a lot of things in our industry, to that point of fragmentation, there's a lot of different types of companies that touch a type of buyer or user in one way, and they view it as, let's grow share of wallet. But everyone's trying to grow their share of wallet from a different attack angle.
Do you think
that leads to,
do you see it at different ends of the market? So, I mean, from a big corporate perspective, I'd much rather have 5 different point solutions. I feel like I'm one of the few left that still likes the word point solution. Like, give me the thing that's really, what is the best thing that does this exact outcome? And let me get the other 4 and we'll stitch them all together and put a dashboard on top and put an agent to it.
Yeah. I don't think there's a great consensus there, right? There are some individuals who are happy to have point solutions to solve specific problems, but they typically aren't only point solutions, right? There's like, I need this point solution to solve this one small problem. There's other individuals who, from just a contract administration, vendor administration, all of that, administration, their view is I would just rather have everything with one vendor versus multiple vendors. Yeah. And sometimes that leads you to go with a solution that isn't the best solution or completely meeting your own needs as an owner or operator. But your view is, I already spent so much money with that vendor. I already have a great relationship. I'd rather just pull it all together. I think really the big OEMs in general of our industry, that to some degree is their approach, right? We want to like bear hug you. And if it's not a big enough bear hug, we'll have a bigger bear hug.
Oh, you also need this thing? We'll go find a way to get that for you.
And well, it'll be interesting to watch how that strategy, which I think is generally being applied across multiple companies, works or doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I would say there's probably some nuance in the tactics also, or some differences in the tactics.
Yeah. I think there's space for both. It's all situational.
Yeah.
In many cases.
Yeah. If you really broke it down, I think by type of asset, by type of industry, there is probably more of what you could think of as standard operating procedures that are slightly different for corporate versus commercial real estate versus distributed multi-site. Right. I'd have to think about it more. Like, what exactly does that look like, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once all the vendors stop cannibalizing each other, what would you say the optimistic things to look forward to? Like, are there any emerging trends or things that you feel like actually, either with the advent of AI or some other sort of deployed solution that you think there is, a real lane to go at?
A lot of what I hear about from my end users, from my own team, the ability to intelligently self-service our needs, our outcomes, to be able to, go through the rigor of standing up a new software platform for whatever outcome that's solving, and then to be able to have our vendor partner accept that we want to go customize some things ourselves. We want to extend, this particular feature to do A, B, and C. We just, especially for these bigger companies, I think there's a lot of motivation to be able to do those things themselves. And I run into it. We'll do every other year or so kind of a current state of the entire tech stack. And I'll go talk to power users for some of these things. And for some of our longest held software that we still run, that's the number one use case, the number one requirement. Like, I love that I can go in and I can manipulate every field on an asset record. I can go create my own dashboard within this reporting platform. And the second we start saying, well, we're evaluating other options and they won't let you do that, it gets shut down.
Right.
Immediately. So there's still this, it's kind of a balance, right? Of you're paying a subscription generally for, give me a thing that can do everything that we need it to do, but I still want to be able to turn the wrench and do things and adjust it where we can. So I think that the more that permeates, and I've seen that across the last probably 3 or 4 roles.
Yeah.
Just I still need to be able to do things for myself.
Yeah.
Within your ecosystem.
Yeah. So do you think there is a point at which that becomes less, like there's less friction, there's a broader understanding and kind of acceptance of, right, look, as a true partner, actually you should have access to all of these extra points. You should be able to do these extra things. Our core offering is here, but here are some complementary asides. Like, do you really think, like, we see that that's going to happen 6, 12, 18 months from some of the big vendors out there? Or is it still that kind of like, this is my domain, this is what this is, you're in it now?
It's a good question. And I say this only for my own little bubble, because I don't know what everyone else is asked. It may not be important to other people.
Yeah.
I think as the more time goes on, the more that we continue to have those kinds of conversations, I'm more than happy to sit down with a product team or whoever is facilitating us looking at a new piece of software for whatever use case that's going in a requirement list, and it's probably going to be a priority 0, a P0. Like, this is a must-have. We need the ability to not feel like we're, beholden to only what we see in this menu.
Yeah.
We're going to want to stretch.
It really strikes me as counterintuitive that there is that sort of handcuff to a solution where you'd probably imagine across other similar SaaS industries, you would need to have the customer in mind for longevity, right? So like we sign you up as a client. How do we take you on that journey for 10 to 15 years? And well, you won't by giving me this handcuff, right? This is probably going to last until this cycle finishes. And I just, when I hear these stories, I like it. There's some very smart people that run these businesses, and I don't understand why there isn't more of that sort of alignment up front. And maybe it's like, it can't be done straight away, but yes, let's factor that in, or there's a roadmap to get there, and there's things that you can get straight away. Just, it seems odd to me.
Yeah,
It's an observation rather than a question.
I think it's a mutual trust that you have to get to.
Yep.
And I don't think, not every client will get to that level with every provider.
Yep.
And that's the way it is. That's okay. I find I can meet more of my end users' needs if we have some flexibility in what we're allowed to do.
Yep.
Notwithstanding some of our platforms have SOX compliance and, data privacy things that not everybody can or should have the ability to do whatever they want in a system.
Yeah.
But I mean, even I've had some vendors not even straight up say, no, you can't do that. Like, can you come talk to our head of product? Like, tell them what you just told me. Like, because we can't do that right now, but they want to learn. And, if we can get to it in the future, then we'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite quote from as a product manager is feedback is the breakfast of champions. And it's such a good quote. That's great. Do we want to do a couple of rapid fire questions before we take you home?
Yes.
So I guess if you could change one thing about our industry, and that can be FM technology broadly, smart building tech maybe more narrowly, what would it be?
Oof. Wow. I know we said rapid fire, but my brain went to 100 million. You can play
which has The rapid fire is for me to ask questions more quickly.
Oh, the one thing I wish I could change. And I'm not dragging my feet because there's a billion things I wish I could change. I love the space, and it's been home to me for 21 years now. I'm starting to see more and more kind of kindred spirits pushing on open source.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get to, and it wouldn't be for everything.
Right.
I'm thinking specifically within, the hard VMS landscape.
Yeah.
Like, in the last 2 months, I've seen an open source VMS supervisor project pop up on LinkedIn. Ben Bartling, who I think is going to be here as a little mad scientist running around, like, he wrote a thing and pushed it to GitHub that is an AI agent that says, describe a sequence for me, and I'll create your wire sheet that goes into Sedona or Niagara. Which, like, more of that.
Yeah.
Because especially as this industry, like every industry in the world is going to have a labor shortage. You know this more than many people right now. I think the more that, especially on these technical, super hard to find, like a good controls field tech where I started, like, it was hard to find in 2004.
Yep.
It's significantly harder to find right now. And there's this whole industry of, kids who grew up on Scratch and learning Python in high school.
Yeah.
Like, let's make it easier for people that generally know how to write code.
Yeah.
How do we get you to do that for chiller plants and rooftop units?
Yeah. Yeah. The controls, optimized control sequences. Yeah, that makes sense. Related question, where do you think our industry will be in 5 years? More broadly, not so much your journey within McKesson, or any bold predictions of where it will be in 5 years.
I think the AI conversation, at least as of now, with its current trajectory, is only going to continue. It's only going to get more pervasive. What I'm not sure about is, when you think about existing building stock, the thing we talked about a couple minutes ago of, a 25-year-old I/O controller is viewed as a good thing.
Yeah.
And in many situations, that's true. it doesn't help propel conversation forward.
Yeah.
So I do think that I think the open source conversation is gonna
Yeah.
move forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen some of the same things where there's starting to be a little more traction. I mean, it's been something that's been here and there talked about for a while. So I guess we'll see how much traction does it have. I mean, the AI point, I think you're also right. Gartner has the hype cycle, right? Like peak of inflated expectations, trough of disillusionment. I guess we're not in the trough yet. We'll hit it at some point, but there's also this question in my mind: how long does it take for us to get to the peak before we, get to the trough?
Yeah.
And there's so many different, to the point of fragmentation.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you look inside of all three of our brains right now, we're in three different places, just like what we're picturing
Right.
AI in the space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's exciting.
It's exciting. Yeah, for sure. Only other one I have is you live in Chicago. Favorite building? And I say that because Chicago is one of the greatest architectural cities, I think,
It very much is.
in America, maybe in the world. Yeah.
Plug for the Chicago Architectural Boat Tour,
Yeah.
if you're ever there.
I've been on that 3 times.
It's so good. And it's, even if you hear the similar things like the Mies van der Rohe buildings, like all these other famous architects, like they each have a mark in that skyline. My personal favorite to this day, I'm biased because I got to work on it, Google's Bayview campus in Mountain View.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the first one they ever built themselves. It's just,
And those are the domes.
it
kind of
looks
right.
it looks like a big metal circus tent.
Yes. Yes.
And it's a dragon scale is the name of like every piece of that roof is a solar cell.
Yep.
It's the world's largest passive geothermal
Yes.
system on the
Yeah,
planet.
they're using the bay, and I think it's an open loop, if I recall. So,
I don't remember.
yeah.
But if it was one of the most, anytime I go to a new construction site and I get to walk the place,
Yeah.
I'm going to the most complicated system first.
Yeah.
I spent
Yeah.
3 hours in that central plant
Right.
and I couldn't figure out what was happening.
Right. And that was the one. I think I've received a tour of that building. All of the pipes are painted the Google colors.
Oh yeah.
So like, I think it's like the blue is not cold, the red is not hot. It's just like we want to paint in different colors. But I think what the story I heard, which could just be kind of a myth, was that because that building is so close to the bay, there's a lot of pylons that had to be driven into the ground to support the building. And then somebody said, well, we're already drilling. Why don't we use geothermal? It was probably planned more than that. But I think it was like something like thousands of pylons. And we've had on our podcast, folks from Bedrock, and they noted that the challenge in America is that the crust here is so different that there's not a lot of predictability when it comes to drilling into our ground. So that makes it difficult for geothermal. Obviously, right near a big body of water, I guess it's maybe a little more predictable. But cool. That's great. Yeah.
Nice. Well, you stole my favorite building, so that's a good answer. I don't know how well you're set up at home. What's your favorite smart home tech?
Oof. So short answer is indoor air quality sensors. I've been an IAQ nerd since 2016. I can pinpoint the day. There was an IFMA event in Chicago. Shona OD, who's this remarkable mechanical engineer, was giving a presentation about this brand new thing called Fitwell.
Yeah.
And Well came right behind that. And just to hear her start quoting research, and one of the first I ever heard talk about Dr. Joe Allen in Harvard and the cog effect study, that just, for some reason, my brain flashed onto that hard. And then when COVID hit, when the rest of the world finally realized, oh, we should care about what's in the air and what we're breathing and those kinds of things, I started collecting IAQ sensors for home. So I have this little lab in the corner at home and can generally tell how poorly ventilated my basement office is. From some that are fairly complex to ones that are more aesthetic looking. The one that gets people asking a lot, there's a Danish design house that came out with a product originally it was called Canary, but it was spelled AIRI, so Air Canary. They had to rename it to Birdie, which is what it's now called.
Right.
But it's this little plastic yellow bird that sits on this little white perch. It's right behind my head on my camera. And whenever my space hits an unfortunate 1,000 parts per million of CO2, the bird dies. It mechanically just flips down.
Wow.
It makes this like motor whirring sound. And I've had people call out like, did your bird just die? Like, yeah, I need to go open the window. I'll be back. That's what that means. But to me, it's this very simple, elegant way of, raising a signal to say, like, you're not in the healthiest of spaces right now.
Yeah.
You should go do something about it. And it, like, every single time I get up and I go open the door or the window or something, depending on what the weather's like. But
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. I might look into it. They're Danish.
yes, believe so.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Nordics. Yeah. I mean,
Somewhere right
yeah,
there. Yes.
They have. Yeah.
They have a good view on that sort of.
Yeah. Exactly. But it creates a conversation. It's a fun way to provide actual information.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People who ask you, you could probably educate them a little bit. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, I forget the make, but I've got 2 of the aesthetic ones. There's one in my living room, and it happens when people come over, or if the kids have their friends over, and they'll look up like, I thought that was a clock at first, but it said the time was 9:72.
Yes.
Like, what is that? Let me tell you about indoor air quality, friends.
We keep time on Mars.
Are you sitting down?
That's right.
Yes.
I'm going to open this window and watch that number's going to drop. We just traveled back in time.
It might have been you who told me you had one of the handheld like battery powered ones, and you're just on planes before you've taken off.
Oh,
Watch
yeah.
it go up, and like
That'll freak people out in a row.
no wonder you get tired. You get on a plane, you're like, oh man, I just got to my gate. I'm so tired. It's like, no, it's the air quality that.
Oh yeah, it'll like I've mid-COVID.
Yeah.
Just hold this little. It's like an AirNet 4 is the device that came out.
That's it. Yeah.
Was hard to get at the start of COVID, but that's I kept seeing IEQ scientists on CNN talking about air quality, and they all had this little box. So I took it on a couple flights, 2021, 2022. It would hold it out, and it turns colors. So as the air gets worse, it turns green to yellow to red. And I've had more than one person kind of elbow me like, what's going on? Should we be concerned? It's like, is that COVID? Like, no.
Yeah.
It's just the way that planes are built, they don't have filtration running when they're parked at the gate.
Yeah.
So 3,000 parts per million CO2, it's going to make you tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good tip. What do you
That was a good tip. I'm definitely going to look into that. Well, thank you ever so much for your time, Drew. It's been a learning experience, but a real pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you for your thoughts and your insights, and it's great tagging along, understanding the depths of your relationship and how far, some of these problems and challenges have started from. But I'm still optimistic about where they can go, right? Because of great minds like you two working on them. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And it's, if we didn't have people like us in rooms like this trying to still work on solving these problems, I'd be a little concerned. But
Yeah.
it's what makes us more hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much, Drew. This is great.
Agreed.